Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about how the CONY ETF cannot be stopped. This thing is just absolutely ripping to the moon. And we're going to talk about the underlying, also the Coinbase stock. So let's go ahead and get into it. So as you guys can see here on the charts, we have the CONY ETF pulled up. This thing just last week alone, believe it or not, if we measure this, has gone up a whopping 15% in 1 week. Now, we did see something similar before here, as you guys can see during basically, looks like the roughly about the first week of November, I should say. We had actually a bigger pump. We had roughly about an 18% gain. So this thing has been kind of really just going crazy lately. I think part of the reason is the potential of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. If you had basically bought and held from down here at $18, you'd be up roughly about 50% right now. But even if you bought at this resistance turn support and held, you'd be up a whopping 31% right now. So we'll take a look at the distributions. As you guys can see, the distribution for the most recent month was $2.46. Just so you all know, we do have roughly about 20 shares of this this yieldmax ETF. So if you guys saw our buys, sells, and dividends video that we just posted recently for this recent week, then you guys would see the amount of shares that we have on our Robinhood portfolio. But in terms of the dividend yield, I mean, it's possible that the yield for that's coming in January on the 5th, I believe it is. So we'll actually take a look at that here. So we click on the distribution schedule for 2024. You can see basically they have the whole year laid out for you guys, so you can time your buys and sells accordingly if that's what you want to do. But we'll find out what the actual amount is here on the 4th. The last day to get in would obviously be on the 4th. If you get in on the 5th, you will not get paid for the shares you buy on that day because you have to have the shares before the X date. So you're talking roughly about a week and a half from now. But don't quote me on this, but I think that the dividend's probably actually going to be equal to what it was this month, if not higher in January. It's possible it could be up to $3 a share, believe it or not. That's absolutely crazy to think about, but that is genuinely what I believe could be the case coming up in January. So with that being said, we'll take a look at Coinbase, which is the underlying for this particular yieldmax ETF. As you guys can see, this thing has just moonshot straight up, pretty much with no retracement here whatsoever in just like almost 2 months at this point. So this thing, Coinbase itself, has gone up roughly about 24% in a single week. Again, the RSI is pretty substantially overbought. If we pull this chart back, you can see actually since Coinbase IPO'd back in 2021, so this would be the IPO right here in April 2021. Why did the stock go down? Well, that's the first time that Bitcoin dropped, was in April and May of 2021. Then it bounced back up and dropped again in November. That's when the Fed came out and said that they were going to raise rates. So for those of you that say that Bitcoin and Coinbase has no correlation, no offense, but you need to do your research. I don't think you really know what you're talking about here. We've been studying crypto for years. There is very heavy correlation between Bitcoin and Coinbase. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to prove it right now. So we'll just type in Bitcoin. My goal here is not necessarily to prove a point. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you guys that there is heavy correlation in between the two. If Bitcoin drops, Coinbase will most likely drop. And then also the CONY ETF will drop. So keep that in mind. So taking a look at the weekly, you can see that almost exactly to the week, both Bitcoin's top and Coinbase's top happened. And then we saw these huge drops down here. You can see that the lows on both charts are pretty close together here. And then the November peak in Bitcoin, you saw that we had this huge drop on Coinbase and Bitcoin, and they both bottomed roughly around the same time frame. And then again, Bitcoin pretty much has been moving up almost synonymous. Our Bitcoin and Coinbase have been moving up almost synonymously at this point. So we'll go back to CONY, and in all honesty, I don't really have a resistance level for y'all yet. We need to see some testing here of some particular price points. We haven't had that yet. So at this point, it's just simply in parabolic mode. We really don't know what's going to happen right now. So we'll have to wait and see. But both Bitcoin and Coinbase are pretty heavily overbought at this point. We could draw in some zones here and say that basically this bottom down here is roughly between, I would say, $30 to $46 a share, or $48 a share. Sorry about that. And then the next support zone would be roughly somewhere in this area right here. So if we were going to drop back down, it'd be somewhere between $88 to $118 would be the next possible support zone that we would drop to. And then I suppose we could put this one in here as well. So another potential support would be 156 to 175. But since we haven't actually broken past that point yet and retested, I'm going to hold that as a resistance. And then the next resistance could be as close as potentially, it's a little hard to see, but you can see these wicks over here. This is some pretty major price action. So somewhere between, I would say, 203 to 217. And if we actually draw this further back, you can see that it was tested all the way back here in the middle of the bull run in 2021. So that's a pretty major zone. So we could still have some more upside to go. How much more exactly, that's really difficult to say at this point. I mean, it's basically nothing but straight up right now. And I think this is all predicated on the spot Bitcoin ETFs, which the deadline for that is, obviously nothing's 100% guaranteed, but it's looking like it's going to be January 10th of next year. So what that could do to the price of Bitcoin and crypto, it's hard to say at this point. It could be extremely bullish. We could see some kind of God candles where the price just goes absolutely bonkers on all cryptocurrencies, and they just moonshot like we've never seen before in existence, in crypto's existence, for all of next month into February, I would say, and then maybe it cools down into the halving and then kind of chops around for a little bit until roughly about November, December of next year, and then we start moonshotting back up. Or this could be a buy the rumor, sell the news, where everybody's bullish on it leading up to the event, and then the spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved, and then Bitcoin, Coinbase, and CONY sell off, and the rest of crypto sells off, and then we continue on with the typical 4-year cycle where the halving happens next April, and then somewhere between 4 to 6 months after that, Bitcoin starts moving up to push past its all-time highs. It peaks out, then all coins start popping off, and then there it is. We'll just have to wait and see what things look like then. So anyways, this is our video on CONY and Coinbase. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.